Welcome to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Brewer looking to the end zone. He's got him in. Touchdown.
Sic'Em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
It's really just the beauty of football, you know, because you're not going to win every game. You're not going to lose every game. But, you know, as long as we just, you know, keep our eyes on the prize and just keep working, that gate is going to get knocked down sooner or later.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Hasty to the end zone. Touchdown. Baylor wins in double overtime.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
So much to get to today. So much to get to today, and also so much to remember today on this Veterans Day. We'll hear from Oceana Presley, the great All-American Player of the Year in volleyball. She'll join us at 3:30. High school coaches from Conley and La Vega. Ben Lieber from Fox Sports, who has the Baylor game with Texas Tech coming up this Saturday. The Masters starts tomorrow. Rob Bolton will join us on our fantasy picks. And we'll hear from a little bit of William Bradley King, Ashton Logan, and Xavier Newman from the Baylor Players Media Session today. John Machota on the Cowboys at 5, and Football Bob will break it down for us in college football at 5:30. Jared Butler named first-team All-American, preseason All-American. It was National Signing Day for quite a bit. A lot of the sports, football has theirs in December, their first one, and more high school football cancellations. Paul, when you think of Veterans Day, what do you think about?
I think about my grandfather, my granddad, Rex Jordan, who served 44 years in the Air Force, I guess the Army Air Corps. When he joined, he lied about his age because he was tall and 16. He went into the recruiting office. They told him to eat. He was too skinny. They told him to eat bananas for 2 days and come back, and he made weight. And he was a 16-year-old fighting for his country in 1938. And then I think about my dad, a Vietnam veteran who served, like I said, in Vietnam, and it was really important to his later part of his life to reach out and work with fellow veterans.
Craig Smoke?
Yeah, I think of relatives who have served, I think of friends who have served, and just the sacrifices that are made and the sacrifices that they, you know, have to endure and volunteer for that not many of us would gladly do. And a lot of the men and women that you know, put their lives on the line, I'm just very much appreciative, and certainly, you know, can't say enough, or probably find the right words to say what our veterans mean to us, and for all that they did and for what they did for this country.
No question. My father, U.S. Naval Academy graduate, father-in-law, also served in the Navy as well, among others who were relatives that were a part of, at some point, some of the wars that our country fought back before some of us were even born. In fact, most of us were even born. Retired Major General James D. Isaacs Jr. We'll have a conversation with him in the next segment. I had Buddy Ferguson, Air Bear. I may have just given away his anonymity on the site. Reached out to me about his father-in-law, 98 years old. He still is on the treadmill 3 times a week. He was a part of the bombing of Germany, a navigator. And his conversation, his memory, his recollection is beyond anything you could imagine. At 98 years old, he is as fresh and vibrant as he could possibly be, plus a personal note about him and what this day means for him as well, not just the fact that he served the country, which of course means everything. I always get a text from Brigadier General Turlington on this day, who listens to us, and many others as well around the country who have served and are continuing, eventually those who are serving even right now, men and women, whoever, over the many, many years. I believe the first ever Armistice Day, which became Veterans Day, was in 1919, November the 11th of 1919. It was a year ago in 1918 when enemies laid down their arms in accordance with the armistice. And this came from, at the time, President Woodrow Wilson in 1919 that began this day. There's a lot to get to. Let's what do you want to do, Paul? We got a couple of notes. I gave the Jared Butler note. Let's go over a couple of things today. National Signing Day.
You can pick one thing, and then
okay.
we've got to go to your interview.
Let's do a couple of high school football. Methodist Children's Homes had to shut down their game, the playoff game this week, and so they have to forfeit the playoff game. They're done for the year. I talked to Matt Rogers. Craig just gave us the note. Ohio State, Maryland joins Georgia and Missouri today as college games that are being postponed. And could be rescheduled to December 19th, that Georgia-Missouri game, if neither team is in the SEC title game. They're getting packed up right now.
Yeah, well, the SEC gave themselves a window. Of course, LSU Alabama's not going to happen, but they gave themselves a window. The Big Ten really only gave themselves 1 week.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with the Big Ten. The Pac-12 gave themselves nothing.
We will hear from Xavier Newman, Ashton Logan, and also William Bradley King at 4:45. We'll have some of what they said. Craig, anything from what they said today that stuck out to you at all? Anything? Paul?
No, not really. Not anything that it was, really profound or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of the same old stuff. I appreciate what they had to say. It's just that none of it was all that eye-opening, quite frankly. It was a lot of, hey, we're just putting our heads down and going to work and next man up and all that. And that's all fine. But, I mean, as far as like a take on any of it, I really didn't have one, no.
I only have one. I asked Xavier Newman about switching back and forth between guard and center, and he said that he was comfortable doing both. And I probably should have said that he didn't look comfortable doing either one that day, but – I'm glad he's confident.
Yeah, we asked Ashton Logan about that Temple-Belton rivalry getting interrupted this year. It's not really as long-term as we mentioned that yesterday as you would think. He discussed that as well, plus the locker room and how they're trying to stay together. And we talked to Xavier Newman a little bit about the football team and their quarterback and the backing of Charlie Brewer and where they are, and he discusses that as well. A lot to get to. We'll do that, but coming up next, retired Major General James D. Isaac Jr., Baylor University graduate. He was a part of the U.S. Army Air Corps, the Air Force Reserves, and his story and his interview next on this Veterans Day on Sic'Em365 Radio. Dr. Petty has special interest in testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, and it's currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify men in need. 1 out of every 3 men have low testosterone, often causes the symptoms of the following: poor mental focus, poor sleep or insomnia, depression, weight gain, decreased muscle mass and strength, loss of sexual interest, ED, fatigue, loss of energy. You could have all of them, some of them, or one of them. And that could be because of low testosterone. So why not find out by getting your blood work? And when you get that work from Dr. Kent Petty, you'll also get a PSA check. And that's always important for men to check your prostate level and cholesterol and much more if you want that as well. 1 out of every 3 men, often again, have low testosterone. 1 out of every 3. And Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Get the blood work. He'll look at the results. If your testosterone's too low, he could put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man you want to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
one size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one size fits all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
He is Major General, retired, James D. Isaacs, Jr., Baylor graduate, U.S. Army, Air Corps, United States Air Force Reserves, and was a major part of World War II. And he joins us on this Veterans Day and Armistice Day, and so many memories, of course, to get from him. I got to start with this. Well, first of all, you're 98. You just turned 98.
Yes.
And is it true you run on the treadmill or walk on the treadmill? What in the world?
Yes, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I still drive my own car, and I'm surrounded by people I love, my family, and my only sadness is that I lost my wife 4 years ago, and she also was a Baylor graduate. We married after the war. When I returned to Baylor, and she was a student there, and we married and lived there at Baylor and in student housing. So outside of that, my life is very, very good.
And that's Nancy, correct?
I beg your pardon?
That's your wife, Nancy?
Yes, Nancy.
Yes.
And we were married for 70 years, and she died 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear that. What does Veterans Day mean for someone like you who served?
Well, I think about a lot of things. This is my father's generation, and they Veterans Day was, as I mentioned earlier to you, was really a big deal for them. And so I think about their generation, World War I, and then I think about the generation that I came out of, my World War II generation. And I particularly think about Baylor and the memorial lamppost there. And, you know, during World War II, at the start of World War II, Baylor was still a relatively small school. And, you know, I think we had... by the time I was called to go in the service in World War II, I think we had, 1,500, 1,800 students there. So you virtually knew everyone on the campus, either by name or by sight. And so all of those World War II people that went in, there were hundreds and hundreds of us that went in World War II. From Baylor, you know, you had the Army Reserve had been called, you had the Air Force, Army Air Corps Reserve that were called, the Naval Reserve, the Marine Reserve. They were called at different times. and they might take 100 in the old Army Air Corps Reserve. They had 170, I think it was 175 of us that were called out of Baylor. So it was you had this gigantic association of friends that went into World War II, and the deaths of so many of those are represented by those lampposts at Baylor University. So I think of the lamppost, my father's generation, and the parades, and the lamppost at Baylor University when Veterans Day occurs each year.
And that lamppost, that was dedicated at Baylor like in 1946, was that?
The lamppost in Baylor the idea was started by Mrs. Martin, who was a psychology instructor at Baylor, and during the war she came up with the idea of corresponding with a newsletter to all the Baylor all the Baylor students that were in the armed forces. And so she started this newsletter, and we looked forward to it greatly. And then she came up with the idea of putting a memorial lamppost on the campus of Baylor for each of the World War II persons the soldiers that were killed. And so she came up with that idea, and we all contributed to it. And then after the war, here, as they built the lampposts with these beautiful lampposts with a memorial on each lamppost, giving some information about the young man or woman that lamppost represented and when they were killed. And so I don't go back to homecoming now. It's very difficult. But I used to go to homecoming, and I would walk by those lampposts. And to me, they were like the living boy still being there. And I would look at those lampposts, and each one, I knew him by name. I'll say, Merlin Neff, classmates. I would salute that lamppost, and I stayed in the reserves, and I would say to him, I'm still keeping the faith. And so those lampposts became almost a living student still on that campus to me. And they're still there. I still think those students are there on that campus represented by that lamppost. So that's kind of maybe an unusual thing, but that's what Armistice Day means to me. My father's generation, the parades, my generation is represented by those lampposts at Baylor University.
So let me know, you were a navigator, obviously during World War II.
I was a navigator, yes.
Yeah, and so you flew bombing raids over
That's
Germany.
Correct.
Can you try to describe the mindset when your first ever bombing raid, what you were thinking?
Well, we were all scared to death.
I got a feeling. Yeah.
You know, forget about these heroes telling you how excited they were. That we were flying over there, and I felt so brave, and we were all scared to death. The Germans were shooting at us, and the flak was so thick you could get out and walk on it. We didn't want to be there. I wanted to be back at Baylor going to class.
Sure, yeah. And you were on a couple of times. You were on a raid where you got your plane was hit, correct?
Yes. Well, it was hit on a number of raids, and so we all went through that experience. And the German flak was very accurate. And it came up in gigantic bursts, and the sky around you would just be dark with the powder burst of these guns coming up. And so a lot of fragments flew out, and so almost everyone's plane on these missions, their planes were hit.
Yeah.
And by individual fragments. Sometimes seriously, so that they shot the plane down or blew it up, or seriously wounded the boys on board. But almost everyone that flew missions received flak.
Who came up with?
We were all you were all scared half the time and uncomfortable half the time, and very relieved to get down safely.
When you did get down, whether it was the first one or the whatever one, the last one, did it take a while, the adrenaline? What was that like when you got back down on the ground?
You got to remember you were part of a team. You flew the missions with a group of men that you had flown with, and you became very close to them. There were 10 men on our bomber, and you became very close to these guys. You knew about their families or their girlfriends, their children, whatever. You knew if they had a bad elbow or if they'd gotten shot or if they'd broken a leg playing football in high school. You all knew about all these things, and so you felt very close to them. And you were the last mission. You of course were afraid during the mission, and you were so thankful to get back home. Some guys would drop down and start kissing the earth, or they'd all be clapping each other on the back and hugging each other. But it was a little bit of it was excitement that you were going home, but it was a little bit of sadness in that part of your life was forever over with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess, if you were playing a sport, like playing high school football, you're a member of a team, or if you were on a debate team or any teamwork, when it's over, yes, there's excitement. You're going on to the next phase in your life, but there's a bit of sadness also. And it's something that you try hard for the rest of your life to recapture that feeling. And that's very hard to do.
Yeah. But you weren't just a military officer, and by the way, that's as good as it gets, being anything, military officer, NCO, whatever. But a heck of an athlete as well. Your father, of course, was a part of the pre-1920 All-Decade football team.
Yes, he was captain of the 1915 football team.
And he was a mountain of a man, right?
For that time and age. You know, it's interesting. My father at Baylor stood about 6'3", and I guess he weighed someplace between 195 to 210, maybe depending upon the time. But he was the biggest man on that football team one year. Now, you stop and think about how large that would not be a large man today, but it was a large man for the time.
No question, yeah. Yeah, and he was a shot put, discus thrower. Tell me the story about the cracked bell that's still on the Baylor campus.
Well, he threw the hammer throw also. And the hammer throw, you twirl around and had this ball on the end of a long chain, and they'd turn round and round and round and throw that thing. Well, you can imagine the guys would get halfway dizzy as they were spinning around, and there's no telling where that hammer was going to go. I mean, it's still a dangerous thing. You'll notice that on the Olympics and some of the track meets still have the hammer throw, that so many times they're throwing out of a half cage where if they release the hammer at the wrong time, it's going to hit the edge of the cage. It's not going to go up in the grandstand. And in many track meets, they eventually outlawed the hammer throw. But he was practicing with a hammer throw one time, and he was throwing the hammer, and he threw in the wrong way, and Dr. Armstrong, who's the man who started the Browning building there at Baylor, lived close to the campus, and he used to walk from his house. He lived across the street from the campus. He would walk from his house across the football field to get to his class. But you come through the fence, walk across the field when they weren't using it, and that hammer throw, there was a bell, a victory bell at the edge of the football field. The old football field was where the Union building is now there at Baylor University campus, and kind of behind where the science building is. And so that hammer throw hit that bell just as Dr. Armstrong came ambling along there. It scared Dr. Armstrong to death because he was very close to the bell. This is the story I got. He was very close to the bell, and the hammer throw could have hit him. I mean, the hammer could have hit him, but it hit the bell instead, and it cracked the bell. So that was the story of that. And my father was very chagrined by the whole thing, and I'm sure he got fussed at.
Did he ever talk to you much when you, of course, in the day, you went and fought for the country? That was just what everyone did, and he was, of course, a part of that as well when he was in the service. Did he ever tell you much about that?
He was in World War I, and my father and my mother both always wanted me to contribute in the right way to society. They wanted me to be a builder. And so their stories to me about their days growing up were not just about hardships, but they were about people they were growing up with who made sacrifices, who served others, and tried to make the world a better place to live in. So I grew up on stories like that. That's what they talked about. That's what they wanted me to do. So my father, when he talked about the war, he talked about people that tried hard and people that tried to do the right thing, people that just tried to be good people and contribute to society. He was not interested in me being a hero. He was not interested in me being famous. He just wanted me to be honorable. And that's the way my mother was.
Not sure if you know this, but I'm sure you do, that Jack Loomis and John Kane, there's going to be a memorial-type service that they're going to dedicate statues to those great men on the Baylor campus.
And they were great men. I knew Jack Loomis was in his senior year when I arrived at Baylor, and he was, I did not know him well, but I admired him tremendously. And we both were, I was trying to play football and was terrible. Jack Loomis was a star, but he was hurt that year.
Yeah.
But he was so nice to me. And then Colonel Kane was my commanding officer.
Wow.
At Boise, Idaho. He'd been back. He'd flown his missions, and he was back. And he was commanding officer at Gowan Field in Boise, Idaho, when I was sent there for my training in the B-24. Colonel Kane had flown B-24s in the famous Pulaski raid that he got the Congressional Medal of Honor for. But he was the commanding officer at that base. And I did not, of course, it was a colonel. I was a lowly second lieutenant at that time, and we didn't necessarily associate with each other.
Yeah.
But I did meet him and told him that I was a Baylor graduate, and he was not very nice to me, very cordial, but that was about it.
So tell me a little bit about, you ran on the 4x100 relay team at Baylor, and
yes,
won a conference title.
I was the boys. I was the slowest guy on the team, and the guys I ran with were all freshmen, and they were marvelous. And in 1946, we had a very good relay team. And we had the fastest time in the nation that year, and due to their efforts. So I have looked back and realized how slowly I really ran as I see the time that the sprinters run today. But it was a wonderful time, and I enjoyed it very much.
So. Yeah, and the rivalry with A&M even back then was hot and heavy, right?
Well, yes, with A&M and with Texas. And
so tell me about the Aggies who were trying to steal the bear off the campus.
Oh, well, I don't know why. Back in those days, at homecoming, the freshmen always had to guard the campus, so that because opponents would nearly always come to the campus and try to do something to the opponent's campus. And in our case, when I was a freshman, we every night in the week prior to homecoming, we had to spend the night out on the campus someplace, guarding either Patton F. Hall or Memorial Dormitory or Judge Baylor's campus statue or the bear pens. And there was a raid when I came back from the service. Excuse me, and they came running to the dormitory and said, "Come quick, the Aggies are trying to steal the bears." So everybody gets out and runs down to the bear case and end up having a fight. And I thought later on, why did we fight? If they wanted to steal that bear, why in the world didn't we say, "Here, we'll open the cage, go in and get that 500-pound bear out of there and try to steal it"?
Good luck with that, right?
It shows you how dumb college students can be.
But, if that happened now, I mean, that would be like on the lead story on some network news. And that was just kids, college kids, rivals being kids, right? Yeah.
The police didn't even come out.
No.
Somebody said, we're going to call the police. The police didn't come out. They weren't going to bother those college kids.
You gave your life and your time for this country, and it's amazing. And here you are at 98. The way you have recollection blows me away.
Well, I'm luckiest guy in the world, and I've been surrounded all my life with a lot of love and a lot of family and a lot of wonderful opportunities, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
Do we understand as a country the value of Veterans Day and what it means to those who served?
I have no idea. I think many people do, and I think other people have other things that they're interested in, and I think that it's this time is just as wonderful as it was during my time. Mm-hmm. It's different for me. The remembrances are different.
Sure.
And things are different, but people are people. They have the same hopes, the same aspirations. They're trying just as hard now as they always did. They're different. Customs are different. But, we're still all trying to end up with a peaceful life and a life that we can accomplish things in, and families that we can love. And we all want to be well and secure and do things that are meaningful and try to contribute. So this generation is no different now than it's ever been. It's always been this way. And I get very irritated when I hear people talk about the younger generation. They've been talking about that since early Grecian times.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's always the younger generation that doesn't appreciate this. Now, this is baloney. Their younger generation, your generation is just like mine. There's absolutely no difference. Basically, we're interested in exactly the same things. You're interested in a lot of things that I don't know about. Maybe I'm interested in some things that you don't know about. But the basics, you and I want the same things out of life.
It's a refreshing way to look at it.
It hasn't changed. It'll never change.
General Isaacs, it's just an absolute pleasure. Today is not only a day that you remember because of you served the country. We remember those who did. But it's also, you mentioned your wife, Nancy. This is a day when you go see her. You go visit her.
Yes, I will. As a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon, in the middle of the afternoon, I'll go out and I'll spend. We have a cemetery plot here that my mother and father are buried in, and my wife is buried in, and I'll be buried in, and there are plenty of room for other family members. And it seems strange, I know, to a lot of people, but for me, I'll go out and I spend that day with Nancy. That's when we started dating. We were elected to go by Baylor. After the war, after World War II, during World War II, Baylor discontinued football, and so in October, in November, on November the 11th, 1945, Baylor and Texas renewed their rivalry, and this was the first time they'd played in several years. So they were having a memorial service at Texas and kind of a celebration. And at halftime, they wanted to have a Baylor couple come out and the Texas couple come out, and the Texas couple would present flowers to the Baylor couple and welcome them back to Southwest Conference football with the University of Texas during this Memorial Day. And so my wife and I were dating. Had just thought about dating. We'd only had one date, I guess. And we just happened to be the junior class representatives that Baylor sent to Texas. So we started dating really at that time, and so that was on November the 11th, 1945. So I always try to spend that day with my wife.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're an amazing man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the time you served our great country. Again, it's retired Major General James D. Isaacs, Jr. Sir, God bless you. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time and your interest, and I've enjoyed this very, very much. God bless Baylor University.
Yes, sir. This is Sic'Em 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'Em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Hope you enjoyed the time with retired Major General Isaacs. Some of you have responded. We'll have some of that later in the show. Thank you very much. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Craig and Paul Catalina. Craig Smoke, David Smoke, and we have the mothership being run today by Jack and also by Drake and Armstrong. Again, thank you for watching and listening. We're now joined by Baylor senior Yassiana Presley, Player of the Year last year in volleyball around the country, and she joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio with an off week after those 2 games against Texas that were so close. Is it a good time, Yassiana, to have the break, or would you rather be back on the court with a match sometime this weekend?
It's good to have a break after, 2 tough losses. We have time to just come out and work on what we need to work on after those matches.
How much will those kind of eat at you and drive you for the rest of this season and into the postseason?
I feel like we played pretty great against them, so I'm not too upset about it, but definitely have a drive and a hunger to just get better and work on the things that we need to improve on.
How nice is it just to be able to play, and what's your experience been like? Obviously, it's a bit different than what we knew as normal, so there's a lot of things going into this season and all sports that typically wouldn't have to. What's been your experience trying to juggle everything?
I'm so grateful to play right now. We all are, because there are a lot of institutions that do not get to play, and it honestly sucks. But we're grateful to have this opportunity to just go out there and have some fun. So we're excited to just keep staying in the gym, and adversity is definitely something that we've had to go through. So just having that opportunity and just doing whatever we can help day by day.
Normally, you would play another match, and you do have a couple of more to come next week, but you would play that, then you would go into the conference tournament, then you'd get into the NCAA tournament, and you don't even know when that might be because others aren't even playing right now. What's that like to not know the ending?
Honestly, it's kind of a faith thing. You just got to trust in God and trust that He has a plan, and His plan is the ultimate plan. So we're just going day by day, playing like it's our last match or our last practice, and just taking advantage of every opportunity that faces us.
How much were you guys able to build momentum off of last year, even though that you did not get to have your normal off season?
We knew that we had a target on our backs, especially because of last season, and no one really expected Baylor to just come out that strong, and it was surprising to us a little bit, but we knew that we were invested in our time and invested in our level of play. So coming from last year, we just had to make sure that we kept the momentum and kept that drive and embraced the target on our back.
What's been your favorite thing about playing with this group of girls, and what do you think about the chemistry that you guys have and getting to know each other and playing alongside each other?
My favorite part is actually chemistry. We are such a huge family, and we love each other very much. We send prayer requests and just are very vulnerable with each other. So that's definitely been my favorite part, because some of the transfers that have come in have really told us that this team is special and that this isn't everywhere in the country. And we're just so happy that we have a unique ability to just connect with each other, and that's definitely been my favorite part.
She's a senior. Last year, the Player of the Year in the NCAA in volleyball Final Four. Baylor got to the Final Four. Cypress Falls High School in Cypress, Texas. Yassiana Presley with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. So what do you do outside of being a student athlete, obviously volleyball, worrying about your grades and all the things you have to do academically? What are some things, if you had the time and you could get away, what do you like to do outside of being a student athlete?
I honestly do not know, but I really enjoy sleeping. But I'm so busy all the time, so every time I get an opportunity, I'm like, nap time. But I enjoy just learning new things, picking up a couple books, and just really trying to learn about myself a little bit more, because my identity has been volleyball for so long, and I am honestly thrilled to see like how much I can accomplish whenever I do get the chance to have free time. So I don't know, but sleep is definitely the number one right now.
What are the books you're reading about? What books do you kind of grab your attention?
I like books that help me discover like my identity and stuff like that, because it's hard, especially whenever volleyball is just everywhere in my life right now. So I just try to read those types of books, like encouraging, motivational books like that.
What is kind of your long-term goal, Yassiana, as far as, I imagine volleyball is a part of that in some form or fashion, but what kind of grand plans do you have for life, or are you kind of still figuring that out at this point?
I definitely want to coach, because at first I wanted to, be somewhere in the business world, but obviously things changed, and I knew ever since like my freshman year that I just wanted to coach, and it's simply because I'm so passionate about volleyball, and every time like I'm away from it for about a week or so, I'm like, can't wait to get back in the gym, or I catch myself watching film or just watching another volleyball game. So I definitely want to stay involved in that, and then hopefully coach D1 college volleyball and do that for a while. So I'm excited for that.
Well, what kind of pointers do you think you'll take from your head coach, Coach McGuire, and what kind of impact has he had on you personally?
He has had such an impact on just my spiritual development, my character, and just obviously my volleyball skills as well. But he is such an amazing leader, and he has so much wisdom to share, and we just appreciate him very much. He has helped me grow in so many ways, and I truly appreciate that. And that's the type of impact that I would like to have on my players whenever I do decide to coach, because caring about somebody as a whole definitely helps them in other aspects. Because if you just care about them when it comes to volleyball or just something that they are capable of doing, it doesn't really do much. But if you care about the individual, you can help them grow so much. So I value that, and I would definitely be taking that on.
There is a still shot. There are photos of you at the net and with what you do as an outside hitter, but there are photos of you where half of your body is above the net. And I know you're incredibly athletic, you're explosive, you're all of that. But have you even at times seen pictures of yourself or highlight reels of yourself? Not that you go look at that, but have you at times gone, how did I do that?
There have definitely been certainly 2 times where I was like, dang, like, that's kind of high. I kind of surprised myself. Last year against Texas, when we were playing at Baylor, there was this picture that went kind of viral. I'm not sure like the terms of that, but I was actually blown away. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was getting up that high, because to me it's normal, but whenever you see it from a different perspective, it definitely shows you how amazing people say it is. And then the other day, I think it was yesterday, I saw a picture from the Texas match. I think it was the second day that we played them, and it looked the exact same. And that blew me away even more because of like injuries that I've been going through this season, and me not being, as confident because of that. And I don't know, I was just kind of blown away, and I'm happy that I'm kind of back. So that's great.
There's a picture right here, Paul Craig. You can see it right here where, your torso, you're absolutely right there at your hips are above the white line. That was the game against Texas that went viral. And obviously coming off an amazing week against Texas in Austin, despite, of course, unfortunately, the two 5-set losses.
What's your vert? Have you measured it?
I'm not sure inches-wise, but I know that I touch 10.9. I know that, but I'm not sure exactly how many inches, like, I jump off the ground. But I think that's pretty good for my height.
yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. Going back a little bit, what where did your love of volleyball come from? How did that become such a big part of your life originally?
So I kind of just tried it out to see how I liked it, because my aunt is a volleyball coach and has been involved in volleyball since she was in high school. So I was trying it out, seeing how I liked it, and I loved it. I was so bad, but it was just great. Like, I enjoyed playing. Nobody was touching one another. The opponent was on the other side of the net. It was just great. Everybody had a designated position, and you just did that, back in simpler times before you did all of that in one game. But I enjoyed it, and I loved it, and I invested time into it, and we see where that went. But it was just great because it was the one sport that, it was inside and didn't have to, deal with mosquitoes and bugs and scrapes and all that. So it was just great. It was awesome.
Yassiana, a couple of more things, and I know you got to go, and we appreciate your time. First of all, it's great to have you on the show. We appreciate it. You've had a spectacular career. With the delay that we don't know when they go back to the tournament, how much are you fueled, not just by this past weekend in Austin, but still by the Final Four? Is that something that is still in your belly, and is that something you can carry over into the spring as well?
First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. But definitely, I'm so excited we are all excited to just carry that momentum that we had from this past weekend into the spring. And this will be the first spring season, and it's kind of weird because we have an opportunity to have 2 national championships under our belt in 2021. So we're so excited about that, and that's definitely a goal of ours to win 2 in 1 year because we're going to be the only team that can say that. So we're just carrying that momentum and that fight that we had this past weekend into the spring, and we're getting after it.
Anything else, guys?
Nope.
All right, so you get a chance to chill out a little bit this week. Are you guys still grinding away with practice, or are you resting your legs? What are you doing?
We're resting a little bit, but we're definitely still having practice and having intense short practices for now, and then we're going to get right back to it on Monday.
All right.
But we're really excited.
I'm sorry. Do you have the picture, Armstrong? Hold on just a second. Yassiana, you can't see there it is. Look at that.
Pretty impressive.
There's the still shot.
Yeah.
Home against Texas, where you are, and you almost look like you're cupping the ball with your wrist when you're spiking it. You were so high. That's
Probably.
amazing. Yeah.
I just hit some balls sometimes, so probably.
Your opponent is, she's got her hands up there and she thinks when she went up to do that, that's the funny thing about that. When she went up to do that, she's like, okay, I'm in a good spot.
Yeah.
And then you went up that high, and she's like, no, I'm not in a good spot. I misjudged.
Oncoming traffic. I know we got to go. Thank you so much. Good luck with what you're doing. Anything else, Craig, for you as well? Yassiana, thanks, man. It's great. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck with your matches next week.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Yassiana Presley. That's a stunning shot of her. And they lost to Texas, 2 gut-wrenching losses. They were up 2-0, lost 3-2, then were down, came back and lost in the 5th set in Austin. They have Kansas State, and they're at home, by the way, November 20th and the 21st, home, and they are fun to watch, no question about it. When we come back, we'll have a high school football segment. Shane Anderson and Conley start the playoffs like everybody does, except 5As and 6As are those who cannot play anymore. And then also Don Hyde at La Vega. At 4 o'clock, Ben Lieber from Fox Sports, who will have the game between Baylor and Texas Tech, will join us at 4. And this is Sic'Em365 Radio.
It's the holiday sales event going on now at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. It's the most wonderful time of year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock and on the incoming 2021 GMC Sierras. And Sierra is a truck that has it all. Power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Texas Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Well, right now, Richard Carr is offering $7,000 off GMC Terrains or $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. And the ultimate gift this Christmas is a Cadillac. Right now, save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or office. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all of these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's the holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Save big. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culture Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culture Ford.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sic'Em365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Connolly Cadets football coach Shane Anderson is sponsored by Masonic Construction, Sturdy Steel, American Bank, Graham Properties, Richard Carr Motors, Parsons Roofing, First Central Credit Union, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Did you enjoy the downtime? Did it give you a chance to kind of take a deep breath and get focused on what is now, when, or you're done?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We had a great week last week, on our bye week, and then we were able to get over there to Center on Friday night and watch those guys play in person. So, it was a productive week.
You ended on a very high note, winning those last three and being able to get yourself the momentum after the China Spring win. Did that carry over last week, and have you seen it carry over into this week?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt it carried over. Like I said before, our kids, we've been blessed here to make some runs the last couple of years. So our kids know what this time of year is about. They know what it's supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to smell like, what it's supposed to look like. They're showing up every day, really, really locked in, and really trying to make a run, and that's what it's all about.
And winning that game against China Spring set up who you play in the opening round. And center, obviously a very talented team. They got the great back in Horace, and they got some dudes that can play. Your thoughts about what you see with them?
Very good football team. That district's a very, very tough district, a lot like ours. Their 2 district losses come to Jasper and Carthage. And, I think they're 7-3 overall. So they're a good football team, beat a lot of good teams. And, we're going to have to play extremely well. That running back's as good as we've played all year. And so it's going to be a challenge for us.
Yeah, and Horace is who you're talking about. They call him Red Horace. He's got nearly 2,000 yards rushing. What style of running back is he? He's also someone who's explosive as well. Yeah,
just on the hoof, he kind of reminds me of Javion Sunday. Maybe not quite as physical, a little bit more elusive, but he has some top-end speed. I think the other night against Rusk, he came in and went for 70. Then the very next time he touched the ball, went for 60. So he's an explosive kid, very hard to bring down one-on-one. You're going to have to gang tackle him. You're going to have to get a lot of people to the football.
Not that China Spring now matters, but it does in a way because that's why you're playing as the number 2 seed. But your team showed something in that last game. They got behind and they didn't put their heads down. What did you find out about them in that moment? And does that carry over because the playoff games should all be tough?
Well, yeah, I think I think all of our games, especially our tough non-district. I think the Salado loss, the come from behind win at China Spring on the road. I think all those things are gonna help us down the road. I think if we would have went through some things like that last year in 2019, we probably could have beat a Gilmer. But we're gonna line up against some really, really good football teams. Really every round of the playoffs. I mean, we're looking at the bracket a while ago, and it's unbelievable. And even Dave Campbell's guys are talking about that Region 3 and what it looks like. Obviously, Carthage is the favorite.
Sure.
And but each and every week's going to be a test.
Hi, this is La Vega head football coach Don Hyde, and you're listening to Sic'Em365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. This is your home for the best high school football coverage in Texas.
This segment with La Vega Pirates football coach Don Hyde is sponsored by American Bank, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
It's that time. It's the next level. Everything is win or else, and you have Western Hills to open up with. You're a heavy favorite, but as you start the playoffs and you've seen what you've done and how you guys have gone through the year, your thoughts about where you are and how you feel?
Well, I think we continue to get better, and that's what we're trying to do, is get to that point where you reach a peak, and hopefully we peak at the right time, and we're happy with the progress we made, especially since our quarterback came back, and we're able to put some more pieces on the defensive side now as a result of that. And I think we're going to get better each week as we continue to progress.
Everybody played as hard as they possibly could when Jordan was there and playing the quarterback position. You and I have talked about that, in fact, even last week. But with Ara there back, did you see kind of a pick-me-up because everyone knows what he can do?
Well, I'm not sure. Certainly everybody was happy he was back and the morale was a little better, but when you got a receiver out there that knows he's got a chance to catch the football, he's going to play a little harder than he did before. And so, there's a lot of times where the ball's thrown where we call a we call a run play, and he just throws it out there. And so, because he's played quarterback for a number of years, he's able to do that. And of course, that's going to bring some more issues to people who are trying to defend us.
Who are you as a team? What's your personality? Do you know?
I think we're the same old team we've always been. Physical and try to do things right, line up correctly, and make you beat us. And I think we're a lot like that, and we're getting more like that every single day.
Do you feel like you have the ability to make another deep run the way you have really the last 5 or 6 years to make the run you have?
Oh, certainly. I think we're more than capable. It's going to take it's going to take continuously getting better, and that's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, and that's what we intend to do until we get to that point.
When you see what the UIL decided to do, that if in fact the team advances and then cannot play and the team that loses also cannot play, was there any chance that actually was ever going to pass, that a team that loses could advance the next week if a team that beat them was out because of COVID?
Hey, let me tell you something. There is nothing that's out of the question right now. I mean, everything's up in the air, and that could change week to week. And so, I feel for those guys who have to make really tough decisions right now.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
The Black is back. It's the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. Get special holiday deals on the truck of your dreams, like a brand new Ram Lone Star Crew Cab with special factory discounts and financing, or grab hold of the Swiss Army knife of SUVs, Jeep Gladiator, and head for holiday adventure. The Black is back. The Black Friday sales event from Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Daniels 7 yards deep in his own end zone, and he's going to be sacked, and that'll be 2 points for the Bears. Terrell Bernard.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Baylor and Texas Tech Saturday afternoon in Lubbock. They have had the neutral site up in Arlington. Initially, it was at the Cotton Bowl, and then, of course, eventually it went to what is AT&T Stadium. It will be in Lubbock. Last year, Baylor won that game, remember, in overtime. The butt fumble was the controversy and beat Texas Tech. Ben Lieber, Fox Sports college football analyst, joins us, former Kansas State star and also part of the NFL with the Vikings And before we get to the game, I saw your tweet earlier today, Ben. Thank you very much for joining us about your grandfather, a tank commander in the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. You know, it's funny. I was in early middle school, maybe 6th grade when he passed, and so I kind of learned like more about him as later in life. You know, he was such a humble guy. I didn't know much about him, and but my dad kind of told me in as I got older that he was kind of a stud, man. He was in the Battle of the Bulge, tank commander, was a boxer in the Army as well, and was really, really good. And you know, he had a tryout with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Didn't make it, but was at least invited at the time. Grew up in Monongahela, Pennsylvania, New Eagle area south of Pittsburgh, kind of like, you know, rough and tumble. You know, that's kind of like Dan Marino and Joe Montana, who we're also relatives with. And so football and all that stuff has kind of been a part of our whole family.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of tough guy in your DNA.
I know, it gets me. I don't know what happened to me, man. I was never regarded as a tough guy, but my grandpa sure was. You know, I had an uncle that was an All-American running back at Kansas, and you know, we've had some football and some tough guys in our family for sure.
Ben, obviously a game this weekend for both teams in need of a win. I mean, this is an important one for both because it's one of their best opportunities for both to pick up a win where those have been rare. For Baylor, you know, what have been your observations of them this season, what Dave Aranda's done, what he's had to battle through, and obviously, you know, last week some injuries, but what kind of mindset do you get or what do you see from the Bears?
You know, surprisingly a little disappointed offensively. You know, I actually thought going into the season, I know that they've got a new change and all that stuff, but there's still some key players from last year, and you know, obviously Charlie being number one, and I really thought that he was going to take off this year, regardless of you know, quote unquote new scheme and probably new terminology and stuff like that. But it's just been really inconsistent play, and there just really hasn't been some of the big plays that we've been expecting. And I think, I don't know, I'm guessing that, you know, COVID has a little bit to do with that. You know, obviously when it comes to college, you miss any sort of practice reps, and you miss critical development time for all these guys, and so maybe they just kind of fall into that arena. But you know, I kind of expected more out of this whole group as a team.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about Charlie and his play and what he can do or can't do. Also, whether it's protection, and without both of that, then you can't run the ball very well. Is it all just kind of mixed together, that it's like everything you can't do means that you can't do all the other things either?
Well, you know, it's so funny because I think when it's important and when it shows up, we talk about the offensive line, and when it's just okay. And there's really good offensive line play, we just tend to overlook it. When it's like, oh, well, look how good the running backs are doing, or look at how well the quarterback is doing. But when things are going bad, we definitely recognize how much the offensive line is important. And of course, you know, you've seen it with Charlie a little bit. You've seen it with Baylor. You've seen it with a lot of other teams. Heck, we're, you know, early in the season so far with Minnesota Vikings, the team I cover here in the Twin Cities. I mean, we've seen it up here with our offensive line too. You know, you can have a really talented quarterback, and they can make all the throws, and they can do a lot of different things, and they can even extend plays. But sometimes when you get hit, and you get hit a lot, that plays with your mind. And no doubt that I'm sure some of the hits, some of the lack of confidence when he drops back has something to do with the fact that he hasn't been performing as well. So that falls in line with the passing game, and probably falls in line too with the running game.
From the Texas Tech perspective, they've been, I mean, kind of in a, I don't know, I don't want to say a free fall in the last couple of weeks, but they just don't look like they have much of an identity yet. Is this, as part of this, you know, now that Matt Wells is in year two, is this part of getting your guys in and transitioning away from some of what they used to do?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, Columbia's his guy. And, you know, I know there haven't been a lot of games, you know, with him at the helm, but that's his guy. That's the guy that he decided that he wanted to have start, and he felt like it gave them a spark when he came in the game. And And, they're kind of feast or famine. They don't get a lot of things going, and then all of a sudden they'll hit a big shot. And a lot of that has to do with protection again. Their offensive line hasn't been great. And even from this last game, it was nothing going in the first half. They decided to max protect, keep the tight ends in, and they really limit their number of routes because they might have one or two guys going down the field, but that's enough. And I think you see from a spectator standpoint, all right, I see what you see in Columbia. When he has time, he's got a nice arm, he can get it down the field. It's just, is he going to have enough time, and can you pick the right spot in the game to call those shots? And I think that's going to be important in this game against Baylor. You guys know, is it really a trend going forward that we can expect them to be ball hawking safeties and picking off footballs and jumper routes and doing all this stuff? I mean, they only had 3 interceptions going into this game, but they're going to have some opportunity with the ball in the air, because I do feel like that is Texas Tech's best shot, is just get the ball down the field. They have some really tall receivers. Sic'Em has had some drops, but he's a guy that they still need to count on getting the ball down the field. So they're going to have their opportunities, and I suppose whoever makes the biggest plays down the field is going to win the game.
Ben, what do you see from Texas Tech defensively? We talked about the struggles Baylor's had on offense. It seems like they got a little bit of a spark, and then they lose Squirrel Williams last week, who provided that spark. So what do you see Larry Fedora and Charlie Brewer and company preparing for as far as the Red Raiders defense goes?
Well, I think they're going to have opportunities to throw the football. This Texas Tech defense does not generate a ton of pressure. They usually bring just 3 guys, sometimes a 4th guy, and the 4th guy is more of just a 4th rusher, but may come from a different spot. And it's kind of like that classic 3-4 approach where it looks like a blitz, but it's not really a blitz. It's just a 4th guy. And they'll bring a 5th guy here and there, but they just don't seem to bring consistent pass rush without bringing an extra guy. If it's 3 or 4 guys, they don't have a ton of pass rushers. They really can't get a whole lot going. So I think that going into the game, expect some protection, expect some deeper shots. Obviously, you're going to want to establish some sort of run game, but outside of that, if you feel somewhat comfortable with that, I think you can get the ball down the field because you're going to have some protection.
You played the linebacker position. You know that Terrell Bernard is out for the rest of the year on diving to make a stop, trying to stop Brock Purdy, and then next thing you know, he went back in the game later, but he's done for the year. Your thoughts about what you saw from him, the player he was, and obviously we know this, but from your perspective as a player, former player, of the loss of Terrell Bernard?
Obviously big. I think, from and I understand where Coach Aranda's coming from. You need a presence on the field, whether it's in the locker room, in just one linebacker room, or on defense, or whatever it is. You need leaders, and those are important figures on a football team. And so he's not going to be out there. And yes, he can lead by his locality and his education and all that stuff. That's going to be important, but sometimes the defense needs an identity, and they need a guy that's going to be there in the huddle, that's going to get the guys going. And he was that, and that's a big key miss. Now, when it comes to just sheer talent, the guy can do a lot. He can play a lot of positions. You can trust him to do a lot of different things. And so from a playmaking standpoint, they're going to have to find a guy. And is Abram Smith, a former running back, is a guy that's going to go out there and all of a sudden just start making plays? Probably not. I mean, you can't expect that to happen. Is Dylan Doyle all of a sudden going to become this athletic guy in space? Probably not. So you're going to have to find some ways, whether it's a safety position or whatnot, to generate some playmaking ability in space like he did.
Ben Lieber with us, Fox Sports on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Ben, what do you just think of the makeup of the Big 12 right now? Obviously, everybody's, taking it on the chin at least once already. And, Oklahoma started to play well after a slow start. Texas has had a couple of very fortunate wins. Oklahoma, could go on and on. But what do you just kind of make of the Big 12 race at this point?
Super compelling. It's like 1 week you think you found a team that's strong, and then that team will lose. And it's really going to come down to the last few games of the season. And here we are, just when you thought that Oklahoma was out of it, they're right now, to me, the strongest football team. They have generated some consistent offense. They're starting to play stronger defense. And you start looking at their playmakers, and just from a skill set standpoint, they've got a lot of stars on that team. You know, there's a lot of highly touted recruits that should be better than most other teams right when they line up, and now they're starting to put it together. So, unfortunately for everybody looking for parity, sort of like myself, and it was kind of refreshing to not talk about Oklahoma and Texas all the time. They're like, oh wow, look what Oklahoma State's doing. This is kind of fun. Look what Brees Hall and Iowa State's doing. Everybody's been waiting for them. They are the dark horse every single year. I mean, I think even when I was playing, it was if you were to predict what was going to happen at the old Big 12 North, or even now, it's like, boy, who's a team that can really surprise some people? It was always Iowa State. It was always Iowa State. And now I really think that they do have a shot, and it is fun. Kansas State, Will Howard, as much as, I can be biased to my alma mater, I just think that they have too many hurdles to overcome. They're in it. They're always gonna be there, but do they have enough playmaking ability to really put themselves on top? I think that remains to be seen, and I don't have a ton of confidence in that. So unfortunately, here we are again towards the end of the season, and we're talking about Oklahoma again.
What was it like to play under perhaps, and I think, the greatest rebuilding job in college football history in what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State, and you were a part of that? Intense.
I don't know how else to put it. A lot of bumps and bruises. It's no secret that I don't think we adhered to any compliance issues ever, even though that we signed the sheet saying that we were only there for 20 hours a week. We might have spent 20 hours in the field in full pads, and that was just on the field. We didn't add up the amount of time we spent in the film room and everything else. I mean, we grinded. It was, and I jokingly say that now, but it was important for that program to go through that. There wasn't a lot of, I don't even think we had a 3-star. I mean, Michael Bishop at the time was a complete game changer, and, he was probably a 4-star guy coming out of Blinn Community College. But other than that, we didn't have a lot of stars. We had to develop stars within. And, so we needed that sort of grinding mentality, and that really helped me when I went in the NFL, because I knew what work was like. I mean, I really knew and understood what putting in long days to self-improve felt like. And I remember having a conversation with Quentin Jammer when we were both drafted to San Diego, and we were going through our first training camp together, and he was struggling. It was the first week of training camp, and I'm like, "What's up, Jam?" He's like, "Dude, this is hard." And I'm like, "What's so hard about it?" He's like, "Well, we don't get out of meetings until 9:30, 9:45 every night." I go, "What time do you guys get out in Texas?" He's like, "Oh, shoot, man, we were done by 6 or 7. I was back to the crib." I'm like, "What?" Yeah. I'm like, "Dude, this is the exact same program I was on at K-State. We were up at 6 o'clock. You're in the weight room. You go to practice. You do 2-a-days. You go to meetings. You might walk out at 9:30. You're back in your room by 10 o'clock. I'm like, that was the cycle every single day. And so the transition to the NFL was easy for me compared to, some other guys in the Big 12.
You heard it from Ben Lieber, folks, right here.
There you
Mac
go.
Brown is soft.
Yeah, there you go. No. It's a different animal.
He certainly took care of his players, I'll put it that way.
No question.
I have to ask you about Michael Bishop and just your experience being around him at practice and watching him do his thing in games. When I think of Big 12 football, he's a name that immediately comes to mind. He was so fun to watch. What was it like, being on the team with him, watching him do his thing?
Man, you got to keep in mind, I came from small town South Dakota, and I was sort of in awe of every one of these guys that was on the field, and I'd never seen speed from some of these guys. I just couldn't believe at all levels just how talented they were. And then all of a sudden you're watching a guy like Michael Bishop, and this guy's launching this football 65, 70 yards in the air, and you're like, what is happening? Like, I think we threw the football 5 times a game in high school. And I had just never seen an athlete, at that position. And I really think that was sort of the transition of college football around that time, to find these athletic quarterbacks. I mean, now it's kind of what everybody looks for. I mean, you look at a quarterback that's coming out, it's like, oh, dual threat. Oh, dual threat. Like, Well, Michael Bishop was sort of the pioneer to a dual threat quarterback at that point in time. And he could have played running back. He could have played tight end, he put all those traits together and played quarterback.
One more thing on that as well is that I just went, you came to Baylor. You talked about the regiment, the routine, whatever at K-State under Snyder. And you came to Baylor, I think, to talk to the team when Matt Rule was here. And he had a very similar type of approach. And he talked about how he was trying to build guys to have a chance to, when they have an opportunity in the NFL. And what are there, like 10 or 11 guys from last year's team that made the team, made NFL rosters this year. What was that like? And did he reach out to you and your conversations? You saw what they were building at Baylor before he left.
Well, first of all, I don't know about you guys. I'm assuming you guys had the same experience. When I first sat down with Matt doing a game, first of all, I saw the biggest energy drink I've ever seen in my life. I didn't know they made cans that big. But I was just captivated by his energy. I'm like, this guy's great, man. Like, he was great to us as a crew. He was nice to me. And we just really hit it off. And I kind of developed a little bit of a speaking series around here in the Twin Cities, talking to corporations and stuff. And I thought, I really want to talk to young kids and college kids. So I reached out to him and I said, hey man, I've got this little prepared 45-minute deal and talks about just football and life lessons and stuff. And he's like, yeah, man, come on down. So it would be great. So I love the opportunity to go down and talk to him, but it is sort of just about that. And also it's about, my experience is just a lot of self-doubt, overcoming self-doubt. And that's what I spoke to a lot of the guys about is, so much of us are put in these boxes and these corners and we're labeled and we're stereotyped. And you're like, oh yeah, well you're a tight end and you can only do this and you can only be this person and you can only whatever. And we get stuck on these labels and sometimes that can be detrimental to your development. And I just kind of talked about, listen guys, I know a lot of you guys are from small towns or you guys are from these bigger towns and you feel overshadowed and whatever. And I just tried to share my experience with, kind of breaking out of your own rut and overcoming self-doubt to be who you want to be and be unapologetic about who you want to be. And that in turn is going to make you a better football player and a better team if everybody accomplishes that individually. So, that's kind of what I touched on. And, I remember James Lynch, who's now here with the Vikings, and watched him get his first sack a couple weeks ago, although he hasn't been on the field since, but excited to see what he can do as well.
Thank you, Ben. We'll see you Saturday. Thanks for your time, and good luck going forward, and appreciate also the information and reflecting back on your grandfather, one of the heroes of this country. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ben Lieber, Fox Sports. You'll have the broadcast. Baylor and Texas Tech in Lubbock, also former Kansas State All-American. He also, of course, played in the NFL initially with the Chargers and then a long time with the Vikings. Coming up next, it's the Masters at Augusta National. I have a lot of you who have sent me emails with your team. You have until 6 o'clock tonight. We'll put that graphic up when we come back. And Rob Bolton, PGA Tour, will tell us about who are the favorites, other than maybe the obvious, and we pick our teams on Sic'Em365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Right now, the items of the week this week through Saturday. Frozen stuffed pork tenderloins, $15 each. Bacon-wrapped stuffed pork tenderloins. Chuck roast for $4.25 a pound. Bone-in pork chops for $2.10 a pound. Also hot links at $3.75 a pound. Regular piggy sticks, $3 a pound. Beef short ribs for $4.50 a pound. And fresh chicken tenders, $1.99 per pound. And also the large, thick Gulf shrimp at $11.99 a pound. And there's a picture on their items of the week on their Instagram page with 3 absolutely spectacular looking ribeyes with all the marbling you'd ever want. So when you grill it or season it, whatever you use, and then eat it, it will be fantastic. Just like the steaks we had last week here before the pregame or after the pregame, what Brian Etheridge did, ribeyes, fillets, and also even a skirt steak. It was absolutely perfect because that meat and what you get at the butcher shop at Waco Custom Marketplace is fantastic. They'll customize your order. There's the bakery as well. Groceries and all you need inside the 3 or 4 rows that are in the middle of Waco Custom Marketplace. Cold beer and wine, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sic'Em365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. We will have some comments from Baylor football players today at around 4:45. And then at 5 o'clock, John Machota on the Cowboys. 5:30 football, Bob breaking down Baylor, looking back at their loss this past weekend to Iowa State and also Texas Tech. It is the Masters. Armstrong, do we have the graphic real quick? They'll do this in like 10 seconds. The graphic, that you have until 6 o'clock tonight to email me 4 names who you think will have the best weekend at Augusta. But you can only pick 2 of the names below. Koepka, DeChambeau, Johnson, Rahm, McIlroy, Thomas, Simpson, Tiger, Schauffele, and Patrick Reed. So there's some in there, some good names that are not included. You have until 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, I'm cutting it off. I've got about 50 that you've sent in from the website and also from the show, and we appreciate that. The winner will get 2 dozen Pro V1 golf balls, thanks to Kenny Duran in Cottonwood Creek Golf Course. All right, Rob is braggadocious. He won the PGA Championship. Was it the PGA Championship?
He did. He won the last one, yeah.
Had a pretty good team, which means he picks last. Rob, how we doing? Are we going to pick? You're going to be a part of this with us again?
Hey, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Thanks again for having me. I very much look forward to this. I'm definitely going to be a part of this. And for the record, it was the U.S. Open that DeChambeau won. He happened to be on my team. And I snuck one guy. Cantley barely made the cut, so otherwise it might have been a short weekend. But,
I was trying to find.
Yes, braggadocious is a word that qualifies.
I saw you on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter. In fact, I tried to forget it was the U.S. Open because of the fact we did not win. Okay, here we go. Paul, we let you go first. I don't know why you don't seem to do anything with it. And then Craig, and then Armstrong is jumping in with this, Rob. We got more threats. And then I go fourth, and the defending champion will go fifth, and then we reverse it where you get picks 5 and 6 back-to-back. Paul Catalina.
All right, now, common sense tells me I should pick Dustin Johnson, but the last time I did that, the poor guy fell down the stairs, and I was out before the thing started. So I'm going to pick Brooks Koepka, last year's runner-up. Fueled with rage of answering questions about Bryson DeChambeau, I feel good about him.
All right, Craig Allen.
I'll take Dustin Johnson.
DJ for Craig. I'm going to take no, I'm sorry, Armstrong. You're next. I'm sorry.
I'll take DeChambeau. I can't believe I got him third. It's a miracle.
DJ.
Who'd you take, Paul?
I took Brooks Koepka.
Brooks, okay.
I'm going to take John Rahm. Rob?
Yeah. Well, like you usually do, you sniped me. Thanks. So that leaves the guy chasing the career Grand Slam this week to end the first round, Rory McIlroy.
Okay. And you get another pick right behind him. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of great guys still on the board, but I can't turn away from Xander Schauffele here.
All right, Xander Schauffele, however you spell it. I'm going to take. I am next. I'm going to take Justin Thomas.
Oh gosh. All right, I'll take Patrick Cantlay.
All right, very nice. Craig.
Trying to think of who's still left. Thomas has been picked. Johnson's been picked, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. John Rahm's been picked. I'll go Tony Finau.
Nothing wrong with that. Tony Finau.
Finau.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I really wanted to pick Tony Finau. All right. I'll take Webb Simpson.
Good one.
Gosh.
You're snarky there. And I'll do Jason Day.
Jason Day. All right. Craig.
I will take Tyrell Hatton.
Tyrell Hatton. Armstrong.
I'll take Morikawa.
Morikawa. Whoo. I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama. And now you get 2 back-to-back, Rob.
Yeah, once again, it's like you're reading my notes. I tell you what, that's the way you do it. So Patrick Reed's sitting there, former winner. Got to take him, and he's in incredible form.
Yes, he is.
Again, I'm thinking about making the cut for your game specifically, and Louis Oosthuizen happens to be the most available on my power rankings, but he would be my next pick just to get 4 through the cut line.
So Louis Oosthuizen.
Louis Oosthuizen.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. You have names that are hard to spell in Schauffele, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw myself on a sword here.
Okay.
I'm going with Tiger.
I knew why. I kind of feeling.
Oh my gosh.
I know that he has not played. In fact, has he played since he won last year? I don't know that, Rob. Has he played at all? He has not played well.
He has played. Played pretty well at Torrey Pines at the beginning of the year, but other than that, he's made 5 or 6 starts and has not played well overall. No.
I think I just paper cut my team, but go ahead. I'll take Tiger just because that's fun.
Is this my last pick?
Yeah, this is your final one.
Okay, I want to take Scheffler because I went to high school with him, but I'm going to take Matthew Wolff. I love his swing.
Oh, yeah.
I love his swing.
All right. Craig?
Is Adam Scott available?
Yes, he is. Adam Scott. Played yesterday with Tiger, or maybe this morning. All right. Paul? Adam Scott, 2-time champion.
Yeah. I'm a little stuck here. I'm going to go with Ian Poulter.
Okay. You know, there's a two-time champion, Bubba Watson, has not been taken, among some others. All right, Rob, critique, please, sir.
Yeah, a lot of chalk. I mean, that's what the Masters does for you, though, right? If we didn't get this right, maybe we shouldn't do it anymore. It's so funny how just if 4 picks in, you get a little bit of an identity from everybody. Paul going out right off the bat with Brooks Koepka of all people, not taking DJ because of previous experience. That could be the paper cut for him right there. Now, Koepka is 4th in my power rankings, coming off injuries and whatnot. It's not a terrible pick, but number 1 overall, that's bold. You're not going to find a lot of drafts out there. And then builds a lot of strength behind it. Nothing wrong with the rest of the guys. Craig, I mean, tremendous team. You know, I think you're front runner. And obviously getting DJ number 2. I mean, you obviously didn't start the day thinking that was going to happen. Armstrong, I love how you go young, first timers.
Yep.
That's a lot of fun. But David with Woods, I mean, you checked the first box of my rules of fantasy golf. Number 1, have fun. That's exactly what you did with Tiger. But top 3 overall, you have the best 3 of the top 3 of anybody. So that's an interesting mix there. I don't know if I would have done the same thing with Woods just to have fun, because I always have fun. But if Woods makes the cut, I think you and Paul are gonna have an arm wrestle for something on Sunday.
All right, so, this is a strange week. It's in November. The course is somewhat different. It still looks gorgeous. Is there anything in particular about this week? It's supposed to maybe be wet and rain. It's going to be cooler. Does that bring in anyone other than just the bombers, like, the ones that a lot of us have picked? Is there a guy like a short hitter that has a chance to win this week?
Yeah, so the most applicable or relevant intel I've picked up on this week is because it is soft, that'll favor the longer hitter. But it also brings into play some of the guys that don't have a lot of course experience, or first timers. There's 26 of them in the field. It's more than 1/4 of the field. It's quite a bit, and that includes Morikawa and Wolf, of course, and a bunch of other guys, obviously. But it's interesting because the greens are the equalizer, and the grass up around the greens, the collars, are not rolling out as much into the collection areas and way off the greens. So that's interesting. That'll scoring should be pretty good based on all of that, especially since it is wet. So the shorter hitters, I think, as long as they're hitting the fairways, they'll be able to attack these pins. And even if they're missing, it's not going to roll all the way down. So you're going to have a guy with, I'm thinking like a Corey Connors, who's one of my sleepers. His strength is hitting it tee to green, and he's not the longest guy in tour, but that's his strength, and he has played in this tournament before, so he has some experience, and that's all he needs this week. So you're going to see, and obviously the first day, sometimes even just the first full days, once everybody gets through that 36-hole cut, you're going to see a bunch of names, a bunch of guys you've never heard of. And then the cream will rise on the weekend, because that's always what happens at the Masters. They'll get Saturday rolling out pretty good. The guys will be rolling 5 or 6 birdies at a time, especially on that second 9. And then we'll see what happens on Sunday. But the rain will be a bit of a downer with all the moisture in the area. But in terms of short guys, keep an eye on Corey Connors in terms of the guys off the radar. But I don't see this leaderboard developing into nothing but short hitters. And obviously, most of the guys are hitting it pretty long these days anyway.
Rob, a lot of talk about Bryson DeChambeau and how long he is hitting it. And again, you mentioned that's going to be a benefit for the guys that do hit it long. But is there a little bit too much hype being given to him right now just because he is hitting it so long, and that's not really what Augusta's all about?
I use a phrase every once in a while. It's fact over friction, and I think it's just sort of a sideshow in terms of his length right now. Obviously, it matters, and it has mattered at places like Colonial since play restarted. But Augusta National, again, the greens are the equalizers, and hitting it long off the tee doesn't get it in the hole. It gets it closer to the hole. Still got to get it in the hole, and that's not insignificant. So I like Bryson DeChambeau as an overall talent with his form. Obviously, the U.S. Open champion. But yes, I think there's too much hype over it just because he's just fascinating at the moment. But once the whistle blows to get things going tomorrow morning, it's just going to be golf, and hitting it long isn't going to do everything for him. So if he's If he's under par, that won't surprise me. But if he's leading, that would be surprising. If he's in contention on the weekend, it probably won't be only because of his length, if you know what I'm saying.
Armstrong, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, this isn't necessarily a Masters specific, but what's going on with Spieth? What's going on with Jordan?
So he's one of those guys that is not – every once in a while you have a guy that comes along and he, like Justin Rose, has lost the touch with the putter. But he's still so good tee to green, you kind of figure it out some weeks. And he doesn't slump for as long, sort of slump-proof in that way. Henrik Stenson's another one of those guys, not playing very well, but every once in a while. And Spieth's tee to green game is just – it's deserted him. It's abandoned him. He can't find it. He'll have it every once in a while, but he's putting too much pressure on a putter to make pars. That's not going to win any tournament. It's not going to contend in any tournaments. He's missing a lot of cuts as a result of it. You can get over having one deficiency with other parts of your game. In fact, no one's perfect throughout the bag. Webb Simpson might be the closest to that among all the players right now. But when Spieth isn't finding fairways, and that's not necessarily a prerequisite at the Masters, he knows that. Former winner, of course, and I think T21 is his lowest finish or worst finish in 6 tries. T11 second worst. I mean, he's built for the place. But he's not hitting the irons very well. There's something wrong with the timing. I'm not going to say it's an equipment-related thing. It could be in between his ears because he's a smart, cerebral guy. And then he's still putting pretty well. But when you're putting for pars or trying to salvage bogeys, I don't know where the emotional component comes in. And when you're looking up at dozens of guys by the time you tee it up on Friday, it has to be demoralizing. So there's a compounding effect as it concerns Jordan Spieth right now. That's why he's my number one fave. You have to avoid him at all costs until he proves to us that he can start putting 4 rounds together and putting consecutive events of 4 rounds together.
Last thing, and Rob Bolton again with us from the PGA Tour, PGAtour.com, with us on every major the day before the majors begin. On DeChambeau with his length, which can be at times awe-inspiring, these are pine trees that are massive. Like, for example, I think about 18, Rob. If you try, and he has sometimes the ability to do it consistently, I don't know, even though there's not technically a rough. If you try to do that, you can get yourself in jail, can you not, around Augusta National?
Yeah, and 18, you can't hit it over the trees on the right. That's impossible. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen during our lifetimes. And hopefully the equipment companies won't allow it to happen if anybody comes along and thinks they can do that. I just think it's geographically and geometrically impossible. But he can hit it through these fairways.
Right.
He's talking about 13, maybe hitting it at 14 because there's going to be no patrons. The ball will roll out. It's going to be a unique experience for that. But no one plays from those angles, and he's putting himself into position to be stymied. I don't know if that's the smartest thing. I don't think that's what he's going to do. And a lot of times, a lot of these guys that come along and they'll say things, I think it's just part of the fun for them. There's still course management still matters. Where you leave it off the tee is more important at Augusta National than actually being in the short grass. So that's part of the learning experience, and that's why experience matters so much in this tournament. So, again, the length is more of a fascination than anything with me. And the dog legs of Augusta National act as a governor for DeChambeau off the tee. But long and straight still works quite a bit. And so we'll see him pumping on 15, especially 14, 17, some of the straighter holes at the end there.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it as always. Good luck defending your title. And we'll be in touch with you throughout the weekend on Twitter. Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com, Fantasy Golf with us every time there's a major tournament. We appreciate his time. When we come back, Baylor football players available today, Xavier Newman, Ashton Logan, and also William Bradley King. Their thoughts about Baylor at 1-4, Texas Tech, and much more. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ted Teague and his staff at Allen Samuels ready to go for the holidays with their Black Friday pricing all throughout the month of November, not just during the weekend, but throughout the month. Special incentives, financing, still 0%, no payments for 90 days on almost basically everything on the dealership lot. Right now, in fact, the big, beautiful Ram Lone Star Crew Cabs featuring employee pricing for everyone, plus 0% for 84 months. It's 84 months and or up to $3,750 in values. An additional $1,000 if you own a competitive brand, not even a trade-in required, no payments for 90 days. If you want to look at what they have when it comes to the Jeeps, for example, the Grand Cherokee Limited has 0% for 84 months, no payments for 90 days, or pick a cool Jeep Compass or the rugged Jeep Renegade Subcompact. Take your pick because both feature employee pricing for all and 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. It's Ram Truck headquarters. It's Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, and they have other dealerships around the country. If they don't have something, they'll find it for you. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
A group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas became frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves. They opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. We've seen too many patients suffer from complications of obesity. Patients who have tried countless do-it-yourself diets, which often results in 25% of the weight they lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. We needed another approach, so we opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis. Please email us at Sic'Em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of our coaches will contact you promptly to get you set up for our free educational seminars. Lose weight by losing fat and sparing muscle. Start MuscleWise today. Contact us at Sic'Em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on Sic'Em365.com.
All right. If you've missed part of the show, retired Major General James D. Isaacs Jr., that podcast is up. Ben Lieber, Fox Sports is up, among others. Also, our coverage of high school football with both La Vega and Conley, golf. And now we hear from Baylor football players for the first time since the postgame following their loss in Ames, Iowa. And Temple's Ashton Logan. And now with Terrell Bernard out, somebody has to step up and play even more or better. Ashton Logan's been playing. the former Temple star, when I asked him the simple question, not even about Baylor, but that rivalry, Temple and Belton not playing this week and not at all this year, you're going to love his answer.
That game is probably one of the biggest games in high school history. Playing in that game is binary, and a lot of kids want to leave a mark in that game. I think not playing that game will really start up a lot of arguments for both of what could have or what should have happened. So it'll just be a lot of talking on social media between both towns.
All right, so that's Ashton Logan on Belton and Temple. TJ Franklin, of course, from Temple. Temple's got a lot of guys spread out. Yeah. They really do right now around college football, no question. And I tell you what, Johnston at TCU's had a pretty nice start to his career up there, especially against Baylor.
Yeah, especially in the first half of games.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other part of it is that this team at 1-4, you could have some breakage. You could have some fragile parts of what's going on. And Ashton Logan on the team keeping the faith to continue on grinding day to day right now.
Yes, I think with a lot of guys being from under Coach Rule and have dealing with this before is really helping some of the younger guys be able to stay positive, stay on course, stay working, and not let drag them down or have any doubts about the next year, the next week, anything of that. I think everybody is pushing to get better every day.
Do you guys agree that they're in the locker room? They're the ones that play the game. In fact, what they've been through before, some of these older players have seen this tough time. Does that help right now during the 1-4?
I mean, I would sure hope so. I mean, I would hope that if you've been through that experience, that somehow you use that experience to, correct what's wrong and to, get this thing back on the right track. I mean, if you're not using that experience, then it was all for naught, right? I mean, why wouldn't you lean on what those times were like and what it took to get out of that hole? And I'll say what I said a few days ago. For these players, especially the older guy, well, I guess it kind of entails everybody, but when they were 1-11, it was all about just getting better every week, and I think we saw them get better last week, but now this is all about closing out strong and getting into spring ball, which hopefully you'll have, and really providing some momentum going into next season. So there's not a lot to play for in terms of titles, but there's plenty to play for as far as setting the table for next season, where a lot of these guys will be back. Many of the guys, especially playing right now, will be back. So, I would sure hope they realize that this isn't anything but a tough time. I mean, they were 1-11, and they could have just thrown in the towel, but, you saw what happened 2 years later. So why not 2 years from now? Are they not winning, 11 games again?
We'll let Paul, we'll let you talk a little bit more during the Xavier Newman stuff because you're the one that wanted to talk to him for quite some time. The other player that was available, other than Xavier Newman and Ashton Logan, was William Bradley King. At times we've seen what he was going to provide, and you would love to have seen what he could have done, at times even more. But the team getting better, trying to get better, hoping to get better, but also about even a little bit of the discussion. You might even hear the simmering of, well, heck, we're 1-4. The heck with this. Let's shut it down and worry about next year. William Bradley King.
Yeah, it's very important. It's really our legacy. How we leave the field each game. We want to be known as the toughest, most hardest working team on the field, and we want every team to know that. Like, whether we down 7 points, 21 points, we're not going to stop. We're not going to quit and give up. So we just want every team to know that.
All right. And he also discussed a little bit about the locker room and how we have to stay together. And so that was William Bradley King as well. Either one of you on what he had to say other than the obvious?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, but the seniors do have to kind of press on. I mean, there's a temptation. You see a lot going on in a lot of teams around the country of, well, these guys are going to be gone. Let's go ahead and send them out the door and play our young guys. This
is not the NFL where you can have team tank or the NBA, is it?
No, but you can have guys just not play and play hard. I mean, we saw just 3 weeks ago 2 guys getting ready to leave the team. I mean, as soon as adversity hit, and 2 guys who have bounced back well from that, in both Lovett and Ebner. But I saw, today more people are leaving their teams. Florida State got hit with some of that, and there's more and more guys doing that as the season starts to wind down. So, I mean, again, there's nothing other than pride to play for. So do you have pride or do you not? Do you want to try and get a second win before you run out of time, especially for these guys who will be playing their last football? I know that it's kind of different now with, the option to return next season. That's kind of being a free year for everybody, but I don't expect William Bradley King to be back. So I think he wants to go out on as high of a note as possible. And, I mean, their most winnable game is this weekend of what's remaining, by far. It's not even close. This is the most winnable game. K-State might be up there, too, because their offense is atrocious right now as far as throwing the football, but if this game weren't in Lubbock, I would have no doubt saying Baylor wins this game. And even in Lubbock, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm picking Baylor to win this game, even with the injuries and all that. So, have some pride, play hard, and like I said a little while ago, set the table for next season.
And I think that is getting to be something, and I know this is completely against what is the normal, what most people believe is fair. All this stuff now and I get it that we are professionals, or coaches get to leave, or we get to take another job if we want. But, man, we are opening it up already. It's so easy to quit in the middle of the year. Well, before bowl games, guys want to shut it down. I get it personally because they don't want to get hurt in a bowl game like Jalen Smith did. We're now making it so easy to just quit everything.
It's a slippery slope. You're right. You're totally right. It's a total slippery slope. You're surprised I said that.
No, I am, because
to commit to different places, or who have all that. Part of it is just being responsible and following through with your commitments. Now, look, if you're going to go, that's fine, but make sure it's the right decision and not just because you got your feelings hurt.
Yeah, the middle of the year quitting and walking away because you're protected by a free year. And we've seen coaches. We saw what's the guy that just won the senatorial race in Louisville or who was it? Makovic, right? Is it Makovic?
No,
not Makovic. Excuse me, he's dead. Tuberville.
Coach Tubbs.
Yeah, they remind me of the same kind of that level of type of the way they conduct themselves. I just. We've seen guys there are examples of that where coaches leave. Petrino with the Falcons, but those are the exceptions. It's now where you just get up and leave 5 weeks in, 2 weeks in, 9 weeks in.
It's because this whole country's just become whataboutism. So it's nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets done because everybody goes, well, he's doing it or she's doing it, and so we never accomplish anything. We have no rules. We have nothing. We just let everybody do whatever the hell they want to do. Why? Because that's what we should be allowed to do.
Because they're protected by...
And look,
that's not fair.
Yeah. Head coaches leaving is one thing because those guys, I'm always surprised when players get mad because an assistant coach left. Do you think he wanted to be the tight ends coach for the rest of his life?
Yeah, especially when it's an opportunity. But they'll sure fire his ass.
Yeah.
And players don't, do they say anything? Some of them do. Yeah, they do. All right, so let's get on to Xavier Newman. It's not been a good year for him. First of all, he missed the first game, which took 3 weeks to play it. And then has just not. I was stunned at how he's been thrown around on the offensive line. And you were, Paul, you asked him a question.
Yeah, that's the second one.
Okay.
Here's on the increased reps that they've gotten in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, this is the first time they've gone back-to-back-to-back weeks with everyone getting reps on the offensive line. And does he see any improvement? Has it helped at all?
As an offensive line group, having 5 guys playing together consistently is a very important part. And, we had break and people were being direct contacts and getting COVID, that was kind of hard for us because we weren't able to practice as a group, since I would say fall camp. So I would think these last few weeks having everybody back, everybody together, that's been really good for us as a group. And it's just something I want to see us, continue to do better and grow on.
All right. Well, one of the things they're going to have to grow on is not shuffling around. And I asked him about it. I'm impressed with his confidence. I'll tell you that. But I don't think he got what I was asking, and that's my fault. But even still.
Why is it your fault?
Because I was too nice. Honestly, I was too nice. I should have said, you struggled mightily switching back and forth between center and guard. Because he absolutely did.
And here's Xavier Newman.
It really wasn't nothing too major, being the fact that I worked both in practice. So, I knew going into the game, there was a chance that I would be going back and forth. So it wasn't really a big thing. But I think being at guard right now is the best for the toe. Doesn't matter to me.
And he was going to be the starting center.
Well, it should matter because he got it handed to him against every team he played against early on. I mean, he did a little bit better last week, but I'm not trying to I was just surprised at that answer. I know I'm sounding a little angry here, but he did. He got it handed to him for a couple weeks.
Yeah, he did, and hopefully he's settled in. Hopefully this offensive line is settled in somewhat. It's been rough sledding, and Man, I'm really tired of talking about the offensive line and hope we come to a point soon. Like, I know it won't be this season, but like maybe by year 5 of this rebuild that eventually they get a unit in there. I don't care how it happens, but just a unit where it's not a question it's been a question every week since 2017. Since 2017. And I understand it's a hard unit to reload. They've had guys that they brought in. They first of all, they had to build the depth. And when they had to build it as quickly as they did, that means that you're probably leaving some quality out just because you're looking for quantity. You still got some quality, guys like Connor Galvin and others, and Xavier Newman was a huge pledge at the time. I do feel like he's actually regressed 4 years into his career. I'm not trying to harp on him, but just as a unit and the shuffling of coaches, like there's a lot of reasons for it, happening the way that it's happened, but man, it would be nice to just go into next year and actually feel like you've got a unit that you could line up and run the football when you feel like it. And I don't mean ripping off huge yardage. I mean, if you need 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, you don't have to rely on a quarterback sneak that works 25% of the time.
That also gave your quarterback shots constantly to the shoulders and head that now might be part of what's going on with him.
He's not intimidating physically. No. He's not going to bully his way. He's going to get pushed from behind by his running backs if he's going to, squeeze in there. Or on occasion, 1 out of 4 times, he's actually going to sneak through a hole. But, I mean, the fact that it's 4 years in, since we last saw a great O-line, again, I understand all the reasons for it. There's been a lot of changes, and the lack of consistency has certainly played into that. But, man, I hope they get there soon because it's just frustrating to have the same problems every single year.
And then Xavier Newman, one of the players, we mentioned this, and I asked Dave Aranda about this, some players on Saturday late in the night, probably when they had gotten back and landed from Ames on having the back of their quarterback in Charlie Brewer. And I know it's a huge debate on everywhere you look about Charlie and the team having his back. I've even now seen this. Well, the reason why Ebner and Lovett wanted to leave was because they was threatening to maybe bench Charlie Brewer, which is crap. But I see it. That's part of the deal.
Who sits there and makes up stuff like that?
It is easy because you can hide behind, Bear Force 27 hijack, or something like that.
It's a really long screen name.
And that's not against Bear Force. He's pretty good. Bear Force won on the boards. Here's Xavier Newman when I asked him about his quarterback and Charlie Brewer.
Oh, Charlie means the world to us. He's our quarterback. He's our leader, and he's everything you would want in a person on and off the field. He's there for everybody whenever you need him, and he's a great guy overall. So I think he's pretty good. He's a pretty good guy.
And that doesn't mean, and again, you'd expect teammates to have your back. Now, what they do everywhere else, that remains to be seen, and that's, of course, what the coaches, players, and others will monitor along the way.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Lovett and Ebner, and I'm not putting any stock in that message board post or whatever, but if that were even remotely true, I'd say, peace out, see you guys later. We're not going to conform to, hurting the football team if that's what they felt. And I don't even need to talk about it because it's so not true.
I agree.
But, like, if that were the case, and, I know most people would probably take the player side at this point, kind of where we are now, but I'd be right on out the door.
If you're a coach and you want to bench a player, whoever it might be, it could be Xavier Newman, and other guys want to kind of throw a fit because of it, you better be stronger than that. And that's been a debate. And Dave Aranda is not afraid to pull the trigger. And I know a lot of people feel like he is, and there may be other reasons of which we don't even know. And I've asked him, and I don't know if I could ask him any other way that I have about the play at quarterback, Charlie, and other options. I've done it from the back way of the young players, from everywhere. And we can only give you whatever we get. And it's hard because, again, we cannot talk to those who are also on staff, and that would make it a little bit easier. Not that they're going to sit there and probably give us too much, but you can get a little bit when you can get somebody off to the side. All right, that's the various, Paul. Great job and all that. When we come back, John Machota on the Cowboys. I just saw where Tyrone Crawford is now on the COVID-19 list.
Thanks a lot, Ben Roethlisberger.
And Football Bob at 5:30. We appreciate you. We got an hour to go. Sic'Em365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Craft beer galore. Walk into that fantastic fridge and see all the different kinds of craft beer they have. Drive-through window. If you're in a rush, believe me, they will match your speed and your expediency. They can get it done really, really quick. You're not going to have to wait long in that line. And if you just need a recommendation or an idea for something, they have the people who know it, who can find it for you. Or maybe they don't have something because it's regional or you can't get it. It's not sold across state lines. Sometimes that happens in the alcohol alcohol business, but they can find something that's similar. They're great. The Chapmans do a fantastic job at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Again, a hidden gem, Waco Drive at North 19th Street in Waco. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Let's face it, some people just like driving around in the new. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters to talk about those truck owners that know they have naked trucks but simply don't care. You'll hear them saying something like, I'm just driving around free and easy, nothing constricting me. Gross. But there is something that can entice almost any naked truck owner. Leather. I mean, they kind of go together, right? And Pickup Outfitters is an authorized dealer and professional installer of cat skin leather seats. So I'm asking you to do your part and help us in truck nudity. The next time you're near your naked truck owner friend, you can say something like, you know what would really be sexy on your truck? Leather. And they'll get that sly smile, and you know you've hit them in their weak spot. Pickup Outfitters installs factory matching leather kits or custom kits in just about any color combination for your truck or even car. It's the sexy thing to do. You can be part of the problem, or you can create a commotion with cat skin leather seats at Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel & Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sliding, throwing, touchdown, Dallas!
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
I mistime that all the time. Football Bob joins us at 5:30, breaking down Baylor and Texas Tech and looking back at Iowa State. The 1989 Cowboys had a minus 25 turnover ratio. 1 in 15 Cowboys had a minus 25. The Cowboys are 9 games into this season. They are minus 13. They're almost on pace to have the worst ever plus-minus in turnovers in the history of the franchise. John Machota joins us, theathletic.com. John, that doesn't surprise you at all, but, they had 2 of the picks by, what's his name, Diggs? Trayvon Diggs a couple of weeks ago. It's just awful. You can't win in the NFL when you turn the ball over. What are most of the reasons why?
Well, yeah, you can't win in the NFL if you turn the ball over, and then it makes it even worse. And you really can't win when your defense never gets the ball back from the other team, unless when you play Carson Wentz like Diggs did. But no, it really is strange because it's so many different things. It's Dak had some turnovers, then you had that 5-game stretch where Ezekiel Elliott fumbled 5 times, and then you just had the CeeDee Lamb fumble. It's like you can't really just put your finger on it, other than the fact to say, whatever can go wrong is going wrong for them. But that's the one, like, put it this way. Whenever you ask Mike McCarthy about anything in this season, as bad as things have gotten with the injuries, obviously losing Dak, not having the regular offseason because of COVID, he always points to them not being able to take care of the ball and then not getting the ball back on defense. And that's the biggest reason that they are where they are right now. You can blame injuries all you want in the offseason and things like that, but even if they didn't have any injuries and they were turning the ball over the way they are right now, they weren't going to win very many games anyway. And so it is interesting because there's only so much you can do in practice. There's only so many drills you can work on. And we're not in, 6th, 7th grade anymore where you're like, hey, you got to hold that ball high and tight, keep that against you, especially when you're in traffic there. Like, these guys know that. They've been playing ball for a long time, and they've been the man on all their high school teams, all their college teams, and people have been trying to knock the ball out of their hands. And so it's strange, because we just haven't really seen them turn it over like that. Now, on the other side of the ball, we're used to that now. I mean, when you have a game like Trayvon Diggs did against Philadelphia and get 2 interceptions in the same game, I mean, it's rare that a Cowboys defensive back gets more than 2 turnovers in an entire season. So that doesn't help things out, because if you were turning the ball over twice, but then you got 3 takeaways, it would cover that up a little bit more. But when you just know on offense, if we turn it over, that we're pretty much screwed because we're not going to get the ball back, they're not going to steal any possessions, it makes it that much worse.
All right, John, I'm just looking at the schedule, and I'm not saying they're not going to win another game, but I don't see a team on their schedule that they are better than the rest of the way out. And it's not like it's full of really good teams outside of the Ravens.
That's fair to say. It's tough with the NFC East. All those games, you just kind of look at playing against any of the NFC East teams, and you can't really take any of those. And I know the Washington game in Washington was pretty lopsided, but I think if you have Zach Martin back and the defense is playing like it has the last couple of weeks, I think Washington is winnable. I think the Giants game at the end of the year is winnable. And really, to be honest with you, unless things don't change for the Eagles, I can't completely just write that game off either, because with how bad they played with Ben DiNucci at quarterback and just how bad Carson Wentz looked, I can't completely write that game off either. So I know Vegas has the over-under at 4 wins for them. I think I'd probably go under and say they get 3, but I'm pretty confident they're going to win at least one more game. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won a couple, and those would be the games. It would be those NFC East games just because of how bad the division is. And I know a lot of fans don't want them to win any more games for their draft purposes, but I went back and looked over the last few years. Believe me, even if they win another game or 2, they're still looking at a top 5 pick.
John, speaking of that, I know Jerry and Steven talked over the last day or two, and they talked about, specifically if they have a high pick, the quarterback spot, and said Dak's their guy. Was there anything that you took away from their comments as far as that goes? And I know there's a lot of people out there saying, yeah, he might be the guy, but if you got a top 5 pick, you have to at least possibly consider something there.
Well, I'll say this. We got a chance to talk to Stephen Jones earlier in the week on a conference call with reporters, and he said very similar to what Jerry said on Tuesday. And so my takeaway from it is, what else is he really going to say at this point in the season? I'll say my own belief with the team is that if they have a top 2 pick, if they get one of those top 2 spots, And a new contract isn't done with Dak Prescott by the time the draft comes around, which is a very good chance there's not. I find it hard to believe they won't at least do their due diligence on the quarterback position, because you don't anticipate drafting up there very often. And when you are up there, if you need a quarterback and there are good quarterbacks available, that is absolutely where you address the position. And Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are two guys that, people believe that those are, two very, very good quarterbacks that are very worthy of being franchise quarterbacks. And Lawrence appears to be one of those once every 10-year type generational talents. So they can say that right now. And I do believe, if I was betting right now, I would say Dak Prescott remains their starting quarterback next season. He's their starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. But I just don't think that anybody should listen to those responses and think that they're going to go into the draft and have a high pick and just completely dismiss even looking at the quarterbacks that are there. That's not the case. So they will do their due diligence. If they think that there's somebody there that is absolutely, without a doubt, better than Dak Prescott, will give them a better chance to win than Dak Prescott ever will, they will investigate that. Now, I don't think that they will have a top 2 pick, and I don't think they will draft a quarterback. But I just, when I listened to that, I knew how it would be received by the fan base. I've already seen on Twitter, and I'm sure you guys have been hearing the way fans are about that, I can't believe they would just dismiss something like that. Just because they say it doesn't make it so. Jerry says that all the time.
So Tyrone Crawford is now on the COVID-19 list, and is that from playing the Steelers because of what they've had as a flare-up, or is that something that surprised some people?
I'm not really certain on that, but I will say, whether it's college football or pro football, I don't really know of any guy getting it from another team. I don't know that there's any history of that happening from just playing against them. From what I've gathered, just in my own, investigating on COVID, it seems like you have to be around a person that has it for a prolonged period of time. I will say this about the Tyrone Crawford thing. We don't have specifics yet. With Andy Dalton, we found out that there was a positive test. With Tyrone Crawford, he could be on that list just because he was around somebody that tested positive. That doesn't necessarily mean that he has it. That's what happened with Matthew Stafford, the Lions quarterback last week. That's why he didn't practice. And then finally, after he kept passing all the tests, then they allowed him to play on Sunday. But I'm not sure exactly if he has tested positive or if he's just been around somebody who's tested positive. And really, to be honest with you, not that we need to go too far down this path, but me personally, I'm kind of surprised that they're only at 2 right now. The fact that they got 2 guys that have been on the COVID list and they haven't had to miss any real time. They haven't missed any games. There hasn't been anything postponed. Let's say when we were talking on this show 3-4 months ago, I never would have thought they got this far without having to suspend a game or something. Almost every week I've thought about that after about week 4 or 5. I'm like, man, this is already surpassing where I thought they'd play 2 or 3 games. There'd be a period where they had to take a couple weeks off, and then because there'd be positive cases, and then they'd have to go forward. So the fact that they made it all the way to the bye and they've been relatively healthy is pretty impressive for all things considered.
Has Mike Nolan done enough in the last couple of weeks to change anyone's mind about the future of this defense?
Yeah, that's a great question because clearly they're playing better. If you don't even need to really get in the schematics, you just compare it to what we saw against Arizona and Washington. It's just the effort is a lot better these last 2 games against Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So I know that sounds so basic and it sounds like such elementary type, Pop Warner football, but the effort it just seems like you see a buy-in. And I really think that you've seen some of the best ball from DeMarcus Lawrence recently too. I know he's getting healthier. He was dealing with a banged up knee, and that's so huge for him. He's their best player on defense. And so there's still a lot of issues with the defense. It has to be addressed significantly this offseason. But it looks like there's more buy-in there. Neville Gallimore, a guy that really didn't get much time when Dontari Poe was on the team at defensive tackle. I thought he played really well against the Steelers. There's some pieces there that you're seeing, and they got to keep playing these younger guys going forward. But I think there's some more buy-in there, and Mike McCarthy is not going anywhere. And Mike Nolan is obviously very high on his list of coaches because he made him his DC. And so with Mike McCarthy not going anywhere, I don't know that you can say for certain that they're going to go in another direction at DC unless things get back the way, like I said, we saw against Arizona, Washington, where just the effort's not there and Jerry and Steven are like, well, we just can't even win games with defense like that. But if it keeps trending in the way that we've seen the last 2 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Nolan remains defensive coordinator.
Back to what I mentioned earlier about Tyrone Crawford, it is an off week for them. It's a bye week, and this is when perhaps a player, as they try to just, relax, not that they aren't going to have whatever they do in a bye week as far as meetings or practice or whatever, but this is when some can get loose. Or is that a concern? Do you feel like that they have everybody pretty focused and they don't go run home or go somewhere or have relatives visit them? But you got to live your life at the same time.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. That is what this bye week, you do have to have concerns about that, because you're not going into the facility every day and you're not, I guess, being tested as much. And so obviously, you're going to be around your family more. You're not practicing this week. So absolutely, that raises concern. And then even if you want to move forward down the rest of the season, not just with the Cowboys, but other teams in the league that aren't playing well, that don't, as farther down the year you get and you don't really have a chance to make the playoffs, I just feel like it's human nature that guys are going to kind of, get a little lax and maybe not, be as serious about things. They're like, this season's already lost. We got, a few weeks left, whatever. And also the fact that it seems like, cases are just picking up more and more anyway, positive tests, not just in football, but just in the country. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see more the rest of the season. But yeah, this is a big week. I mean, you come off playing the Steelers, who obviously had a positive test, and they have several guys on their COVID list right now. And so, it's big. And I'm sure Mike McCarthy hammered that home in his last time talking to the team before they departed the Star earlier this week. But yeah, this is kind of like that time of year they always talk about after the in between the end of OTAs and the start of training camp. That's usually where you see like players getting in the most trouble and things like that off the field, because there isn't that structure of always having to go into the facility and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out of it. But up to this point, like I said, I think that the Cowboys have handled this pretty well.
Thank you as always, John. Appreciate it. John Machota covers the Cowboys for us, for theathletic.com, and joins us on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. John Machota, we appreciate his time. When we come back, a couple of things. We'll dig into some of the stories. Hey, tomorrow we're live in Madisonville for the game between Conley and Center. We have an interview that I did with West senior running back Trey Yannick, who was 100 yards away from the fertilizer plant explosion as a fourth grader at West. And his thoughts, the year he's having, and just a tradition at West that led to spark him to have the varsity career he's having with West as they open the playoffs starting tomorrow night as well, along with much more that we normally have, including our pick'em. When we come back, we have Football Bob this segment or next one?
We'll do Football Bob this
Football
segment.
Bob the next segment on Baylor, Iowa State, and also Texas Tech and more. This is Sic'Em 365 Radio. Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? I would think that if you've ever struggled with any kind of weight, whether it's just 5 or 10 pounds or even more, you have probably tried to do something on your own. You may not know that a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. You do not want to lose muscle. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important than ever before, but it's always important. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight and losing the wrong part of the weight, open Muscle-Wise Nutrition. If you have tried it all, then listen to this, please. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. A combination of coaching, weekly body composition analysis, targeting fat loss are the keys to success, and coaches who teach you on the way and throughout how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. You can get more information, have a seminar, a coach will contact you. Email them, Sic'Em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com. That's Sic'Em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com. Email today, and coaches will be in contact with you about a free educational seminar at Sic'Em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Couple of baseball notes, and we'll get Football Bob on the show. George Springer has declined the offer or the option with the Astros. That was something we knew was going to happen. Whether he ends up back there or not remains to be seen. He's been a major part of what they do. Shane Bieber is the 5th pitcher in Cleveland Indians history to bring home the Cy Young Award. Gaylord Perry. Wow, that's back in my wheelhouse of being a kid. In 1972. CC Sabathia, 2007, back-to-back years. The next year, Cliff Lee, who pitched for the Rangers at one point. In 2008, Corey Kluber, who this year was a part of the Rangers in 14 and 17, and Shane Bieber, unanimous Cy Young Award winner in the American League, had a phenomenal year. A 1.6-something earned run average, had a great year for Cleveland, and he is unanimously the Cy Young Award winner in Major League Baseball. We'll hear from Football Bob in a second.
Well, I'm interested to hear or see what happens with George Springer.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to be a big storyline for the Astros. JT Realmuto and I think LeMahieu also turned down their qualifying offers. So there's going to be some names definitely worth watching in free agency this year in baseball. But Springer's definitely at the top of the list, and that'll make a dramatic difference in what that Astros team looks like next season.
Jared Butler from Baylor, preseason All-American first team. Baylor, of course, had their signings all across all the various sports, including the Lady Bears getting the Miriam Duda, the five-star post. If you're a post player in college basketball, and you see what all the post players have done with Kim Mulkey, Bill Brock, of course, coaches that position as well. It's unbelievable. Methodist Children's Home had to shut down their football season. They had a COVID test, close contact. They had to go in quarantine. Their playoff game with Wiley Prep has been canceled. They're done for the year. And one note about high school football as well, Mesquite shutting down their program for a couple of weeks, which will take District 10 6A and turn that thing upside down. They're going to have to play like 3 games in 12 days or so at some point. So that continues to haunt high school football in a little bit. Every day there's 1 or 2 games. Ohio State, Maryland, Georgia, Missouri, also games that have been postponed in college football. Anything else? Football Bob ready for us?
No.
Okay.
I'm striking out.
That's okay.
If you're near Football Bob, go knock on his window.
You have it as a landline number?
Yeah, I've called.
Okay.
I've called several times.
By the way, Liberty University with that unbeaten team with Hugh Freeze has been given a contract extension after their win against Virginia Tech. 5-year, I believe it's a 5-year deal. Is that right? Through 2027 or so? No, it wouldn't be that far. Maybe it is.
Good luck with that, Liberty.
Places
average
it's worse
so far. I mean, it's they're top 25. I don't know that anybody ever predicted Liberty being top 25, but he's not going to be there for that.
No, that's what I mean about the contract. Like, it's a great 5-year extension. So
it means the same as I'm not meaning this as a diss towards Baylor at all, but comparison-wise, it's like announcing Matt Rule's contract extension last year. Mm-hmm. It's like it felt good. It was nice to read, but did you really believe that it was going to, run through that entire length? I don't think many people were very optimistic, and sure enough, he didn't even, finish the year. So I imagine it's just going to be a question of who wants to take a risk on Hugh Freeze, bringing him back into a major program, because in Liberty, or at Liberty, he can kind of be sheltered a little bit and doesn't have super high expectations. Just, occasionally have a year like this year, which is easier said than done, but have a year like this year on occasion and you'll be fine. I don't think he'll turn that into some national championship type program, but they can be, doing what they're doing right now and do it at an even higher level.
Former Baylor AD Ian McCall running that program. Also, some notes on the interview we had, if you did not hear it, with retired Major General James D. Isaacs Jr. Got some response from some of you on the text line, including Garland Bear 84. What an inspiring, interesting interview with retired Major General Isaacs. And one of the things that connected him to Baylor was not only he graduated, that's where he met his wife, but also he had at least a conversation or two with Killer Kane and Jack Loomis, who had those ceremonies today on campus as well for the late former military leaders from Baylor University. Oh, let's see. There was one more. David D. Carter. David, thank you for having General Isaacs on today. Thanks to Sic'Em365 Radio. Inspiration, he is a hero. He really put things into perspective. I've had the good fortune of flying on a B-17. The fuselage is so thin, almost anything fired at them would pierce. And it was cold. He didn't mention, but non-pressurized, and they tried to fly as high as they could to avoid the flak. Also, the U.S. bombed during the daytime for accuracy of the target. The British bombed at night to protect their crews. Must have been terrifying.
Yeah, those things. I mean, I've walked onto a B-17 before. I grew up for a short time, for 5 years. We lived in Bossier City, which is right next to Barksdale Air Force Base, as you know. And I've walked into some of those B-17s and old planes before. And you think about, like, man, all the technology that's on aircraft now, you would never be necessarily cold or feel depressurized. That's just not how it works. But what they were doing in World War II, I mean, they were really that's tough guy flying right there.
My brothers both flew back from when we moved to Japan. They were with us. And then my brother Robert, who was at the University of South Florida, or at least he was on the campus there.
Yeah.
And Michael, my two older brothers, they came whenever they came, either left or came back to see us, they came on a C5, which is a huge, massive, you could fit this building, I think, in a C5. And they would put all sorts of stuff, and they flew on a C5 from wherever it was. And it's just a big, huge clunker. And it was cold, and there was really nowhere to sleep, and it was miserable, but they were coming to see us. It was great to always see them as well. And then SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey called this week a week unlike any other. That's stealing from Jim Nantz in the Masters. That's a copyright. He should be fined for that. He told reporters that I'm certainly shaken, but not deterred on the games. I think there's 4 games in the SEC that have been postponed. The biggest challenge continues to be not the number of players testing positive, but this is what we've discussed, the contact tracing, which is something that they're trying to grab a hold of, and it's not easy to do. It's not only did Baylor have a flare-up of positives, but they had what seemed like dozens of what happened with contact tracing as well. All right? We're now joined by Gary Comer, former high school coach, and also Sic'Em365 analyst, Football Bob 05 with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Gary, thank you very much. I'm glad you ended your round in time to be a part of this show today. Now,
I'm just so sorry it was tough to get hold of me today.
That's okay. It's fine. We've got plenty of time here. It looked like in the first quarter and in the second quarter that was more like of what people saw from Baylor a year ago, and then, of course, everything changed. What did they do, in your opinion, other than the turnovers, which was part of last year, that gave them that jolt, that game that they played in the first half in Ames?
I think the offensive line had their best game so far. I think that the work that they've been doing in practice is showing. I think that they did a much better job of protecting the quarterback. I think that their run blocking was at least decent for most of the first half, and I think the results showed on the field.
What's the key to get the run blocking better, Gary? I mean, they pass block better and only 1 sack given up, but how can they get that better?
Well, the biggest thing that I see is that good run blockers stick to you like glue, and I'm seeing too many guys lose their blocks 2-3 seconds into the block, and that's just not enough time to produce an effective hole that a back can take advantage of. They've got to do a better job of sticking on their blocks once they make contact.
What do you think about the injuries to Terrell Bernard and Squirrel Williams? It seemed like Squirrel had provided a spark. We know what Terrell was doing and what he was capable of. How do you see them going about replacing Bernard? And in the case of Squirrel, what do you think of the rest of the running back group? I mean, you got Lovett and Ebner, but how do you see them kind of trying to find that same jolt that he was able to provide?
The injury to Terrell Bernard is just, you can't measure it. But on the other hand, last year at this time, I felt the same way about the injury to Clay Johnston. And Terrell not only stepped in, but he even might have even surpassed Clay by the end of the year. I think that he did a wonderful job of stepping in. I don't see that kind of talent from Abram Smith, but, the guy's learning, and we'll just see how it works going forward. Now, the injury to Squirrel, that's such a tragic deal. The guy has worked so hard, to build himself back, get those legs strong, and he was doing a terrific job. It was just really fun to watch him. And there's more talent in behind Squirrel than we probably have at linebacker, but it's going to be hard to replace the kind of jolt that he gives an offense when he takes off the ball.
Isn't that interesting? You say that because the starters are Ebner and Lovett, but Squirrel did give them a little something against TCU at the end, and then gave them something against Iowa State. What is it about him? Is it because nobody knows too much about him? Is he their Deuce Vaughn like Kansas State has? Is that what he brought to the table for them?
Well, I think that there's something to be said for the fact that the defensive guys can't always see where Squirrel is. behind those big, tall fellas of the offensive and defensive line. And I think that he comes in at a point in the game. He didn't this week, but previously he had come in at a point in the game where everybody was used to one speed, and all of a sudden there's Squirrel going at 90 miles an hour, and nobody can catch up with him. He's a good back. That's just all there is to it. The kid can play.
Gary, what have you seen from Tech this year?
Well, Tech is kind of in there like Baylor is. You know, they're up and down during the course of a game. They'll play well for one or two series on both sides of the ball, and then all of a sudden they can't stop anybody, or all of a sudden they can't move the football. It's going to be a game where the team that gets it going for the longest period of time is going to win the game. Of course, it's up there, so Baylor hasn't been up there for a while, and Jones Stadium is a tough place to play. There's no doubt about it.
What did you think of the way the offensive game plan kind of unfolded? Obviously, that third quarter got away from them a little bit, but obviously it helps when your offensive line's playing a bit better. You can do more things, and you had Squirrel in there early to move the chains. But did you see any noticeable differences in the game Larry Fedora called versus what we'd seen previously?
Well, I do think that he tried to go downfield and he tried to produce vertical offense more than he has in the past. I think that the fact that he had an offensive line that he had a little bit more confidence in, and they had started fast, the offensive line right off the bat was giving very good protection, and that gives an offensive coordinator as well as a quarterback a lot more confidence in being able to go downfield. And Baylor was pretty effective at going downfield. Charlie did miss that one wide open throw that, I always feel like that Charlie thinks that everybody thinks he can't throw deep. And so when he gets an opportunity to throw deep, he kind of loads it up a little bit extra. And when he misses a deep throw, he usually overthrows it by about 5 yards. And so I think that might be happening with Charlie, that he tries to prove that he can throw deep and just kind of airmails it a little bit.
Did you like, obviously, the start? They ran the ball, as you mentioned, with Squirrel. There weren't like 15-yard ever. And then all of a sudden, here you are out there where he was wide open and something that we hadn't seen this year.
Oh, it was a great route. He ran a crossing route. And then usually what a crossing route does is it just continues on, or it hooks up in between linebackers based upon man or zone coverage. But what he did was he got past